Hey, what's up? This is Delio T2K with an update, and this is a video for those who are looking into getting either MPC, Renaissance, or Native Instruments Machine. But once again, because I am a owner of Native Instruments Machine, I'm going to focus on some issues that I really came up and really reared their ugly head to me last night as I was working on music. The dreaded encoders have finally struck, and now it has rendered Native Instruments Machine uh, unworkable. I refuse to work on a system that cannot stay locked in the tempo you set it to. But let's go ahead and let's talk about what these encoders are because I want people to understand what I'm talking about. An encoder, which is what Machine Goes On uses, is a means of having a knob encode data for you. It takes your physical movement and converts them into digital information in which the software can understand to do what you want it to do. Almost like the volume knob to your radio, the volume knob to your car stereo, if it's a fully digitally based system, which most are encoders. And when you tell it to turn up, it senses that movement and tells it to turn up or down. Well, the same principle applies to Native Instruments Machine Controller. And what's happening on this controller is that the encoders are entering data to parameters that I do not want changed on their own. They're not loose. However, they have gone to a point where they're just entering changes on their own. And when you're working in music production, the last thing you want changed, unless you tell it to do so, is your tempo. Not to mention that Native Instruments Machine does not have time stretch, so it's not like your sequences that the samples that you cut to 4 bars that are in perfect tempo that you set to will stretch to the new tempo that the Native Instruments Machine Controller sets automatically for you when it's malfunctioning like this. And you know, it's really disheartening to be going through this because you know I really thought that this was a great product. A friend of mine asked me if I do it all over again. I say, yeah, I do it all over again. I believe I've been able to express myself in ways I never have been before. That I used to kind of be confined to when I was working with FL Studio, which is the background that I came off of before this. Not saying that I only know how to use FL Studio, but that was my primary sequencer because of the fact that it ran VST plugins, and with an ASIO driver, it was very solid. But you know, when you work on Native Instruments Machine and you're chopping samples, if you've seen in a previous video of what I've done, you have to chop those samples to very exact points in time. Okay? And unless you chop these samples to, unless you change the start point of this audio clip to the exact time, then the sequencer cannot trigger these sounds in the order that you program them to create a new song. And so your samples get drifted and stuff like that. So what you do, because Native Instruments does not time stretch and does not pitch shift non-destructionally to your audio, when I have to do a loop on Native Instruments, I have to put that sample in there and then I have to try and lock the tempo to the sample or change the pitch of a sample by pitching it up or down to adhere to the tempo that was set in Native Instruments Machine. Okay, these are very finite movements. This is a very finite thing. If your samples aren't cut perfectly, they won't loop together seamlessly. I've had to adjust start points even though I had something already chopped up and ready to go. Sometimes I have to change start points just to get them to seamlessly go into each other to make it sound like a whole new natural clip with sampling. And without that, you know, there's still issues because if the tempo encoder, which controls the tempo or beats per minute, if that changes on its own, it can ruin your whole sequence. There's a reason you set your beat to 82.5 beats per second. There's a reason that you make a house beat at 120 beats per second. There's a reason you do an R&B song at 50 beats, at 60 beats per second. Or if you want to do them at double time, 120, 135. And when the tool you use changes that, that's a big problem. This is a motif, okay? And I'm gonna tell you how this relates to Maschine and why I'm really disappointed that these encoders are going out. This motif is missing a key, okay? This thing has been to San Francisco and back. It's been all over the country, well, not all over, but it's had its bumps and bruises. And the encoders on the motif are loose. That's because this keyboard has been mishandled by others during gigging and stuff like that. And that's a whole nother story right there. But the point I'm trying to make is this. These encoders are loose and damaged, but they have never, correct myself, they have never entered in data on their own or changed the parameter that I set from them. So I know it's possible to make an encoder good enough to last forever because this motif does it. And this came out back in 04, 03. It came out a while ago. This is old compared to what's out now. However, these beat up encoders right here still work. They do not change things on their own. But when I come back to Maschine, which I've only owned for like a year and a half, I think, I got it at the end of 2010. And some people have ran into this issue earlier than me and after me. And I just want to spread the word out there that, you know, we need to really bring this to Native Instruments with attention. We need to let them know that this isn't cool. You know, it makes me wonder about the MPC Renaissance. It's not exactly, the configuration is exactly how I want it. I really don't want another audio interface. I have a bunch already. But I have to wonder, are the encoders and knobs on the MPC better than the ones on Native Instruments Maschine Controller? Or will they go out just the same? I don't know. It seems like some manufacturers get encoders right, like Yamaha. And some people get encoders wrong, like Native Instruments. And I would like to fix it myself. I can't really quite fight the exact part that I need to replace these encoders with. And honestly, I really just kind of don't feel like it, because I already taken apart the machine already to repair the USB port. Heaven forbid that you go through this issue where the USB port becomes loose and unfunctional in your Maschine controller. But that is something to look out for. That is a reality that can happen if you're a heavy user like I am. And you know, now I'm at the mercy of customer support. You know, waiting for them to get around to me and say, yeah, we'll ship it in and we'll charge you $200 to switch it out. And, you know, I'm like, well, what about the original $600 I spent to get Maschine in the first place? You know, I could buy a Motif XF and be confident that the controllers are going to work. Why? Because the ES model that came way before the XF has encoders and buttons that still work. It still works. This thing is beat up. I'll still use it though. You know, so I just want to give a warning to those considering Maschine to watch out for this. They have been very unresponsive at the forums, the people who work at Native Instruments, to give us any answers, which is disappointing. And I guess the number one disappointing reason why it is disappointing is because it can be such a great product. It has been when it was working. I think it's one of the best music production experiences you can have when it's working properly. But just as good as it is when it's working, it's just as bad when it doesn't work. Now I have to let clients know I can't work with them. We got to push sessions back. We got to push this and that back because the system I paid almost more than $1,000 for can't even stay locked to the tempo I set it to. I don't want to send out a BPM out of a motif. I don't want to send it out of Pro Tools and have it locked. I don't want to do all that. I want the system to work like on its own like it did when I first got it out the box. I don't want to deal with that. I'm not going back to that. And I have a right to feel that way. So thank you guys for watching. I'll keep y'all posted on what happens. Sample just came out right there, but who knows? The sequence is ruined now because the tempo changed. But I'll keep you guys posted. Thank you for watching, and we'll go from there. I'm out.